The auction grounds smelled of dust, sweat, and cruelty. An arena where the town of Redstone gathered whenever they wanted entertainment masked as justice. The sky hung heavy with the weight of an oncoming storm, gray clouds rolling over the mountains like bruised shadows. Men leaning on fence rails whistled, laughed, cursed, and spat tobacco juice into the dirt as if this whole scene, this ugly, humiliating parade of power, belonged to them alone. At the center of it all stood the men they called savage, tall, barefoot, wrists chained, shirt torn from yesterday's whipping, a long cut stretched across his cheekbone like a red slash against bronze skin. His hair fell wild and tangled to his shoulders, his chest rising and falling with the quiet, burning fury of someone who had survived far worse things than the cruelty of cowards. But his eyes, God, those eyes, they weren't wild, they weren't savage, they weren't animal. They were tired, exhausted, from running from a world that kept pushing him into the dirt. The sheriff slammed the butt of his rifle into Savage's knee, forcing him down. "Kneel, boy." Savage didn't flinch, didn't cry out, didn't lower his head. And that defiance was enough to spark amusement in the crowd. Mocking laughter filled the square. Someone shouted, "Hey, be careful, Sheriff, he bites." Another added, "Should have shot him instead of bringing him back alive. Would have saved us the trouble." Savage kept breathing, slow and steady, as if denying them the satisfaction of seeing him break. The sheriff raised his voice so the entire town could hear, "This here wild creature was caught trespassing on McCullen land, caught with a stolen horse, and resisting arrest. Man's a danger, a savage, and today," he kicked dirt toward Savage's bare feet, "he gets what he deserves." The crowd jeered, some clapped, others stamped their boots in anticipation. From behind the sheriff, the auctioneer stepped up onto the platform, a fat man with greedy eyes and a slick mustache that curled like a serpent's smile. He rubbed his hands together, practically vibrating at the idea of selling pain dressed as justice. "All right, folks. Sheriff says the law gives us rights to make use of a prisoner for labor. This savage can be bought for farm work, ranch labor, even mine duty." He cupped his hands to his mouth. "Who's starting the bid at $10? Savage lifted his chin, jaw tightening as the crowd began shouting numbers, voices dripping with superiority. He was outnumbered, chained, powerless. Yet in his silence he was the only one who held dignity. That was when the sound of hoofbeats cut through the noise. Slow at first, then louder, sharper, more deliberate, the kind of sound that forced heads to turn. A lone rider approached from the far end of the street, a woman wearing a long dark coat that fluttered with the wind, hat low, reins steady. Her horse, a black mare, moved with a confidence that put even the sheriff's men on alert. The moment she reached the center of the square, people stepped aside instinctively. She dismounted with quiet grace, boots touching the dirt like she was stepping onto sacred ground. Some recognized her instantly, others only whispered her name with unease. Evelyn Hart, a ranch owner, a businesswoman, and the only woman in the region who'd built her empire with her own hands. She was respected by some, envied by many, feared by a few, and completely uninterested in anyone's approval. Evelyn pushed back her hat, revealing storm-gray eyes sharp enough to cut through lies. She looked at Savage, really looked at him, while dust swirled between them like fate drawing two broken paths together. The sheriff tensed. "Miss Hart, this is town business. Best you stay out of— What's the charge?" Her voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The tone alone was enough to make even the auctioneer swallow nervously. The sheriff huffed. "Trespass, horse theft, proof." The sheriff blinked. "What?" "Proof," she repeated, eyes still on Savage. "Or are you planning to sell a man without a real trial?" Murmurs filled the crowd. The sheriff's lip curled. "We caught him with the horse, all right? That's all the damn proof needed." Evelyn kneeled slightly, observing Savage's wrists, the cuts on his arms, the bruises already turning purple across his ribs. "You beat him. He resisted arrest." Savage finally spoke, low, deep, roughened by nights spent swallowing pain. "I didn't steal any horse." The crowd laughed. One man shouted, "See that? The beast talks!" The sheriff pointed at Savage with his rifle. "You shut your mouth unless spoken to." Evelyn's eyes snapped toward the sheriff, her voice turning glacial. "Lower your weapon." "Ma'am, I said lower it." Her hand hovered near her holster, not threatening, just reminding. The sheriff's jaw clenched, but after a few long seconds, he lowered the rifle. The crowd muttered with irritation, clearly more entertained by brutality than justice. Evelyn turned back to Savage. What's your name? He hesitated. Not because he didn't have one, but because no one had asked him that question in a long, long time. Kai. The sheriff barked a laugh. Kai? He probably made that up. These people... Evelyn's voice sliced the air like a blade. These people what, Sheriff? He swallowed his words. The auctioneer scrambled to diffuse the tension. Miss Hart, if you're interested in buying him, the bidding's already started at... Don't hurt him. The entire square froze. Evelyn walked past the auctioneer, past the sheriff, and climbed the wooden platform until she stood face to face with Kai. I'll buy him. The sheriff stared. Evelyn, you don't need... I wasn't asking. She placed a leather pouch on the platform. It hit the wood with a heavy thud, coins shifting inside. How much to end the auction right now? The auctioneer stammered, eyes bulging at the weight of the pouch. Well, Miss Hart, that's more than enough. Evelyn leaned closer to Kai. Call him savage all you want, she said loudly enough for every single person to hear, her voice carrying like thunder. But I see a man worth saving. The crowd erupted, some in disbelief, some in outrage, some in mocking laughter. The sheriff spat. You're making a damn mistake. Evelyn didn't look at him. She simply lifted Kai's chains, checking the lock. No, I'm making a choice. And unlike you, Sheriff, I don't fear what I don't understand. She unlocked his chains herself. The metal clattered to the ground like a shattering curse. Kai stared at her, confused, wary, untrusting, but undeniably affected. He rubbed his wrists, eyes narrowing. Why? Evelyn looked at him steadily. Because I've learned something in this life. The people the world throws away are often the ones with the most fire left inside. A silence fell over the entire square, deeper than before. The storm clouds crept closer. Dust settled. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rumbled. Evelyn extended her hand to him. Come with me. Kai didn't move. His breath hitched, barely noticeable, yet filled with emotion long suppressed. He wasn't used to kindness, or choices, or hands reaching out without hidden chains. The sheriff muttered under his breath, She's crazy. Evelyn didn't care. She kept her hand steady. You're not a prisoner anymore, Kai. You're a free man the moment you take my hand. Slowly, hesitantly, Kai reached out. His rough, calloused fingers brushed hers, and as soon as he held her hand, the storm finally broke. Rain poured over the open plains as Evelyn led Kai toward her ranch, both of them soaked to the bone but pushing forward without hesitation. The storm was wild, sheets of rain hammering the earth, thunder splitting the sky apart, but something about the moment felt cleansing, like the world needed to wash away the ugliness of Redstone before allowing anything new to grow. Kai sat behind her on the horse, muscles tense, hands gripping the saddle but careful not to touch her. He didn't trust closeness, didn't trust mercy, didn't trust freedom. And he sure as hell didn't trust himself not to break anything good that drifted too close. When they reached Hart Ranch, thousands of acres of rolling land, stables stretching into the distance, and a two-story house glowing warmly through the storm, Kai froze. This place was peaceful, too peaceful, as if the land itself refused to judge him. Evelyn dismounted and turned to him. Come inside, you'll catch cold. Kai didn't move. Not until she added gently, You're safe here. That word, safe, felt foreign, like it belonged in a dream. He followed her slowly, eyes scanning every corner, every doorway, every shadow. Inside the house, warmth wrapped around him like a blanket, the crackling fireplace, the smell of cedar, the quiet hum of peace. Evelyn handed him a towel and a clean shirt. You can change in there. She pointed to a small room. Kai nodded but hesitated again. She noticed. Everything about her was observant, not the judgmental staring he was used to, but the kind that sought understanding, not condemnation. You think I'm going to lock the door behind you? She asked softly. His jaw tightened. You don't know what men can do. You're right, she said. But I also know what fear can do. And you've lived with too much of it. He held her gaze for a long moment before stepping inside the room. When he came out wearing a shirt slightly too big for him but smelling of fresh linen, Evelyn was pouring coffee into 2 mugs. She handed him one. Kai stared at it. It's hot, she warned. I haven't had anything served to me in years, he muttered. Then drink slowly. They sat across from each other, the firelight flickering between them. Evelyn broke the silence first. Tell me your story. Kai stared into the flames. There's nothing to tell. Everyone has a story, not mine. Mine just Happens. She leaned back, giving him space. He wasn't used to that either. Finally, he spoke. My tribe was wiped out when I was 12. The rest of my people scattered. I survived by hiding, running, doing whatever work towns allowed me to do. His voice hardened. And when they didn't want to pay me, they'd accuse me of stealing and throw me out. Evelyn's eyes softened. The horse? I found it wandering near the river 2 nights ago. Saddle broken. I took it thinking someone might come looking. He paused, voice lowering with bitterness. But when a man like me touches something that doesn't belong to him, everyone assumes the worst. Evelyn sighed. Redstone feeds on fear and ignorance. It makes monsters out of good men, and lies out of strong ones. Kai shifted uncomfortably. Why did you help me? You risked your name, your ranch. Everything. She met his gaze. Because I saw a man standing tall in chains. I saw dignity in the dirt. And I saw someone who deserved better. He swallowed hard, emotion flickering in his eyes like a candle resisting wind. No one's ever said that to me. Then this is your first time. And not your last. A long silence stretched, warm and full. Not heavy like before. Finally, Evelyn stood. Come with me. There's something I want to show you. She led him outside to the large barn behind the house. Inside were horses. Beautiful, strong, calm. And instead of fear, Kai's expression softened for the first time. They listen to you, she said. Just like I think they'll listen to you. Kai stepped toward a tan mare. She nudged his hand gently. He froze in shock. Animals never feared him, only people did. Evelyn watched his shoulders relax for the first time since she met him. You have a gift, she said. You calm what others call wild. Kai shook his head. I don't belong here. That's where you're wrong. She stepped closer. You belong anywhere you decide to plant your feet. His voice cracked. I don't know how to be free. She smiled. Then stay here, I'll teach you. He stared at her, truly stared, like he was searching for tricks, traps, anything that might reveal this kindness was temporary, but he found nothing except honesty. Then he did something that surprised them both. He whispered, almost inaudible, thank you. Evelyn replied softly, you don't owe me thanks. Just live. Days passed. Kai helped with the ranch, quiet but reliable, hard-working but gentle. The hands respected him. The horses responded to him better than they ever had with anyone else. And Evelyn found her house felt different with him in it. Like silence no longer meant loneliness, like strength no longer meant isolation. Kai, in turn, found himself softening, healing, becoming someone he didn't recognize, someone he wasn't afraid to be. But Redstone had long memories, and cruel men hate when the person they try to break refuses to stay broken. One night, as the moon cast silver across the ranch, several townsmen rode up, guns holstered, hatred in their eyes. The sheriff at the front. Evelyn stepped outside with Kai beside her. We're taking back what you stole, the sheriff snarled, pointing at Kai. Town wants justice. Justice? Evelyn laughed coldly. You want entertainment, a target, someone to blame for your own emptiness. The sheriff drew his gun. Move aside, Evelyn. Kai stepped forward. She saved my life. If you want someone, take me. Evelyn grabbed his arm. No, you're not going anywhere, the sheriff sneered. Look at her, protecting a savage. Evelyn's voice turned into steel. Say that word again, the sheriff spat. Savage. The moment the gun cocked, Kai grabbed Evelyn and shielded her with his body, pulling her behind one of the wooden posts as the sheriff fired. The bullet hit the post, splintering the wood inches from Kai's head. Suddenly, ranch hands rushed out, rifles in hand, surrounding Evelyn and Kai. The sheriff's men hesitated. You better ride home, Evelyn warned. Because next time you draw a gun on my land, you won't walk off it. The men backed away slowly, hatred simmering but fear growing stronger. When the dust settled and the riders disappeared into the night, Evelyn turned to Kai, gripping his shirt. Don't ever do that again. He blinked, confused. Do what? Put yourself between me and a bullet. He hesitated. I couldn't let them hurt you. Her voice softened, trembling at the edges. And I won't let them hurt you either. Their eyes met, stormed to fire, and for the first time, Kai felt something new, something terrifying, something beautiful, belonging. And Evelyn felt something she hadn't felt in years, trust. She whispered, You're not alone anymore. Kai swallowed hard, voice breaking. And you, You're the first person who ever saw me as a man." She stepped closer, her hand brushing his. "Because that's what you are," he exhaled shakily. "A man worth saving." She smiled. "No, Kai. A man worth fighting for. And under the moonlight on a ranch built on courage instead of cruelty, a new chapter of both their lives began."